Thanks for joining us tonight. This is a call to order of the City of Aspen City Council regular meeting for December 6, 2022. Can we have a roll call for attendance, please?
Councillor Doyle.
Here.
Councillor Howenstein.
In attendance.
Councillor Mesereau.
Also in attendance.
Councillor Richards. Here. Mayor Tory.
I'm here. We will start off, no scheduled public appearance, so citizen comments and petitions. We'll go ahead and start online. If there's anybody that wishes to address council this evening on items not scheduled for a public hearing, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself. Not seeing any online, I'll go ahead and look in room. Are there members of the public that wish to address council this evening? Not seeing any in room. We'll bring it back to the table. Special orders of the day, council members and mayor's comments. Council members, any comments this evening?
Oh, wait, I'm under board reports. Sorry.
I have none.
Wait, the environment's doing well?
I didn't say that.
I'm good.
Okay, I have just one comment this evening. I wanted to extend a great thank you to the entire City of Aspen staff, special events, the manager's office, and the Wheeler Opera House. Last Wednesday, we had a community event at the Wheeler Opera House that was highlighted with Peter McBride giving a presentation. But we also had the Aspen Historical Society and the Aspen Skiing Company, just a community gathering that was just absolutely fantastic. The audience loved the content that we had there, and really we're asking for more. This council has been focused a lot over the last couple years on mental health, community connectedness, and a variety of other initiatives such as public art and environmentalism. And this event that we had really was a culmination and coming together of all of those in one. It was a wonderful night, but really special thanks goes out to the Wheeler Opera House staff and our special events team. Nancy Leslie and everybody that works with her did an amazing job. It was a really great event. I know that some council members were able to be there and enjoy it, and for those that couldn't be there, just know that your initiative and your efforts paid off in spades. It was absolutely wonderful. That's my comment this evening. So with that, we'll look to agenda amendments tonight. I didn't see any. City manager comments tonight?
None this evening, thank you.
And that'll bring us to board reports. I'll look over at Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll try not to take too long, but I was at two different meetings last week, Thursday and Friday down in Denver for the Colorado Conversations Group, which meets twice a year. It's Front Range and West Slope leaders and very interested parties, and they had a really strong agenda put together. And the second day I was down there was the CML Policy Committee meeting. So first time I've been able to attend one of those in person, and I think forever. But at the Colorado Conversations meeting, there was a really extensive presentation on fentanyl and the dangers of fentanyl throughout Colorado and how incredibly serious this has become. They were saying that a packet of fentanyl the size of one of our laptops can be made into 500,000 pills. And that it's just become so highly profitable that no one is bothering with heroin or things like that. It was a really fascinating presentation by members of the FBI and some task force in Colorado, but kind of stressing that almost all of our illegal drugs started out as legal drugs for pain medication, whether it was morphine in the Civil War, later heroin was introduced to get rid of people on morphine addiction, later Percocets were the big issue, then OxyContin. But right now, if you were to try to buy OxyContin on the street, black market, it's more likely than not made out of fentanyl, and one pill can kill. And the number of deaths that we're finding throughout Colorado are just massive, and they're offering their services if anybody would like to have a presentation about that or something throughout high schools. Just some really horrible stories of one father spoke who had lost his two sons at the same time, and they decided to try it together in their college dorm. And that was that, you know, and how we've had fentanyl deaths in Carbondale and El Jabal and in our community, I'm sure, as well. So I think that's something we all need to take a little more serious look at. There was a great presentation on the water issues, and that was good to hear the Front Range community starting to understand. The sad news is that they're feeling that even when you have a good snow year, at higher elevations, we're getting less and less water content in the snow. And so they're anticipating that even while we'll still have good winters for a while, we're not necessarily getting the water we need for Lake Powell. There was presentations on housing concerns and certainly on homelessness and food banks, which, I was really glad to hear they're working on the Farm Bill and trying to stabilize the support that's been there for SNAP, food bank, food stamps type of benefits. But the bigger and more interesting issue was they had Joanne Gruff present, who's, I think, in charge of property tax collections and tax collections in Colorado. Might be having her title wrong. But she said that they're really starting to see some very scary numbers again because of the housing price increases and what that does to assessed values. And she spent a little more time basically talking about the past couple of legislative sessions where independent groups filing for initiative titles and then the potential to gather signatures to create a, let's go down to zero property tax, or let's do this, or let's do that, has kind of led to a negotiation process with the state legislature where they will meet behind closed doors to say, well, if we do this with the taxes today, will you not do your initiative? And so that's been kind of prevailing as opposed to wiser tax policy. And she really was putting we need to watch out for what's going to come next. And certainly they're expecting additional Tabor refunds to comply with the law. So that was a very interesting and informing afternoon and all day, actually. The Colorado Municipal League Policy Committee will be continuing to look at these items. They always come with suggested staff recommendations, either to support with conditions or oppose or stay neutral until they get more information. But the real essence of most of the bills that were coming down was about local control and issues that are of concern on local control. And a bedrock principle of Colorado municipal leagues is to always stand up for local control on these issues. But the three issues that are coming up are Wildfire Resiliency Code Board, that they're considering making a recommendation that all communities must adopt whatever the Wildlife Resiliency Code Board comes up with into their building codes. And there was concern that some communities have already adopted the universal building codes and they're fairly current on these sort of things. But on the other hand, people are very aware of what the fire danger has become and the challenge with people not dealing with issues like defensible space. But there was a lot of concern about who's going to do the inspections. Where does this liability fall? Will it suddenly be on the city because you said you had to use these building materials? Also, we're a lot of concern about the inspections because they want to be able to inspect the plans as they're being built. And we're concerned about how that would affect permitting time going forward, that you get to a certain point in your process and now you have to send it off to state to approve. But it's going to be something that's opposed unless amended, and they're going to keep following. The second one is more generic on state control and hasn't really come in yet, but there's legislators who are noodling it around, as they say, to create some sort of statewide zoning and land use rules in order to facilitate the provision of affordable housing throughout Colorado. And some of the things that are unlikely to make a final bill but are being kicked around are a statewide moratorium on any single-family zoning in the future, requirements for local governments to allow accessory dwelling units, which, given the experience we've had over time with them being turned into something other than housing, is fairly interesting. Limitations on parking requirements, new development standards that would be required in near transit or non-attainment areas, requiring the discounting or elimination of water tap fees for affordable housing development, and a lot of other things. So the governor is holding meetings with the stakeholders on these sort of things, and we'll see where it comes out. But again, it's always been something of great concern when things are local control. One of the final items that was a local control item is the local control of psilocybin mushrooms, which the ballot issue has passed, and it was put on the ballot as a statutory measure. A constitutional measure on the ballot will require a higher signature level to pass, and so most groups kind of go with statutory. And meaning statutory is that the state legislature is allowed to then refine it or improve it or modify it in some way. But they're particularly concerned that there was no local control built into the ballot language for licensing of where these things would be located or whether they'd be allowed in your community, in some ways similar to the marijuana legalization, but in other ways similar to a community saying you can't have a bar within 1,000 feet of a school district, or you can't have a strip club within certain distances of other activities. So they are going to be looking at initiated legislation related to giving local control back to municipalities. A lot of other issues that didn't seem quite as pertinent to us, but someone is trying to get past a new bill that would require communities to allow micro trenching for cable, for broadband. But micro trenching means about 4 to 5 inches under the surface, and they cause a tremendous amount of trouble for snowplows. And they would like the right to put that into your asphalt, into your streets and roadways. So there's a lot of concerns about a lot of the bills going forward, and we'll see which ones make it through or not. Generally, over 500 bills are introduced each legislative session, and not that many make it all the way. So we'll see what happens. So that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other board reports this evening?
Yes. One board report and one sort of update. I just got an email from our subcommittee of Nordic Council, and they presented to the Open Space and Trails Board around snowmaking, and got universal support to pursue that, with the request that the board take some of its standing fund balance towards the project. And so that'll come back to our board, but that's progress for snowmaking. And then Northwest COG meeting last week, executive director review, all kind of universally positive. Approval of a new employee handbook, approval of a new employee bonus policy, sort of in that same guise of us trying to be mindful of caring for people in this tough time, and initial review of a Northwest COG new and potentially current elected official training retreat that would be based on its workbook and have a mental health and well-being component. And the board is looking for individual member feedback on this. So we're going to get some stuff together, and I'll bring it back to everybody. That's it.
Thank you. Any others? My board report this evening is just that I have RAFTA Thursday morning and Board of Health Thursday afternoon.
I'll be there with you.
Are you going to join me? Great.
Yeah.
And I'll send the agendas to the rest of you as well, in case there's any items that you want to discuss. With that, we'll move on to our consent calendar. The consent calendar this evening is resolution number 128. This is the mill levy adoption for collection in 2023, an amended resolution. Resolution 137, adoption of an updated IGA for mental health services. Resolution 141, the purchase of a Foley 653 Accu-Master AC front load reel grinder.
Yeah.
What are you?
And resolution number 148, the CORE 2023 funding, and resolution number 151, Series 2023. This is the yellow brick lease for Ajax Cubs. A couple of great items on this consent calendar. Does anybody wish to pull any for further discussion tonight?
Let's just say the grinder that they're replacing is $30.
We can't even make it through this one. You're green now. Tell us your joke again.
It's not a joke, it's just that the grinder they're replacing is 30 years old, so we got our money's worth.
Amen.
Amen.
I would take a motion for the consent calendar.
Make a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote for the consent calendar this evening?
Counselor Doyle.
Yes.
Counselor Howenstein.
Yes.
Counselor Mesereau.
See?
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Mayor Tory.
And yes. That actually brings us to the end of our agenda this evening. Is there a motion for adjournment tonight?
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Record.
Seeing
No. When? Name the date.
none, can we have a roll call vote for adjournment, please?
Counselor Doyle.
Yes.
Counselor Howenstein.
Affirmative.
Counselor Mesereau.
Affirmative.
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Mayor Tory.
And yes.
I'm writing down 21.
Thank you for being here this
Thank
evening,
you, everybody, and
2116. I wrote it
happy
down.
holidays if we don't see you before then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Well, they might not all be back here next week. I know I
Hoping
will.
would happen.
Geez, if I hadn't been late, it would have been a record.